Hey everyone, welcome back. We had another great question. This one was from Luke Fellman. I'm currently on the waitlist for MST, and I was wondering about the civilian side. Is there a specific qual you need before you are able to work outside the Coast Guard? And also, what is the average time for someone to make E5 and E6? Really great questions. I'll start with the civilian side. With MSTs, there are actually a lot of great crossover jobs that you can do in the civilian life. Starting with the safety, right off the bat, you are involved in pretty much every MST specialty, whether it's pollution, facilities, pore state control. There is an element of safety that goes with the 29 CFR, 1910s, OSHA regs, things like that. Just doing safety briefs. All those translate to safety inspector jobs, management positions, anything in a facility or even a warehouse, anything like that where you're going to be responsible for the safety of employees. I think MST rate jobs really transfer well to that. For specific quals, it's going to depend on specifically what kind of job you're looking for. Something like the pollution responder qual is great for like a harbor safety officer or a harbor master, somebody working in a marina, working around boats, working in that kind of environment. The pollution responder qual is great for that. FOSCR, which is kind of the extension of PR, kind of the same thing. It can translate well to actuarial accountant type jobs as well, because there's a lot of budgeting of funding and resources and things like that involved in the FOSCR qual in particular. So that's another one. Container and facility quals, those are great for safety, great for if you're working at a facility yourself, facility representative, or anybody that's kind of working in that area. The great thing about all these quals really is that they translate to a lot of marketable skills. Just the nature of earning the qual requires a lot of attention to detail, a lot of studying of regulations, good written and verbal communication skills for giving briefs and things like that. These are all things that you can really articulate in a job interview. You can really kind of sell the benefits and the things that you bring to the table through the achievement of some of these quals. And when it comes to making yourself marketable, just being in the Coast Guard, being able to share specific stories of things that you did, whether it was on deployments or on a response or inspection or whatever it may be, they're very unique. They're things that you don't always do in the civilian world, but those skills translate to the civilian world. So when you can articulate, I boarded a vessel, I did a response that led to the recovery of 15,000 gallons of oil. People love numbers. Those are things you can point to really market yourself. So to answer that question, really, there's not any one qual that you need. Being able to talk about what went into any given quals that you might have is gonna put you in a favorable position to get a lot of jobs in the civilian world. The second part of the question was, what is the average time for someone to make E5 and E6? So this is a tricky question because there are a lot of variables that will go into this. There's the standard timeline, and then there's your own skill set, and then there is an element of luck. The standard timeline is 6 months, generally, time and grade. So E1 to E2 is just graduating basic training. E2 to E3 is a 6-month time period. You pretty much are going to make E3 unless you do something crazy. So that's pretty much a given. E4 is where you start having to have certain qualifications, namely A school. So when you graduate A school, if you graduate A school and you're still within that 6 months of making E3, then you'll have a 6-month wait period before you can put on your crows. If you've already reached that 6-month barrier at the E3 level, then you'll graduate A school as an E4. From there, it's 6 months again. So once you go from E5 to E6, those are also 6 months, and then to make E6, you have to have a year at E5. Generally speaking, those are your timelines for each rank up until E6. Now, where the variables come in is, one, obviously your own drive. So you have to have all your PQS sign-offs for whatever particular rank and your rating. So on the enlisted side, you have your rank, which is E4, E5, E6, but then you have your rating, which in this case we're talking about MST. To make rank in MST, like let's say you want to make E5, you have to have all your practical sign-offs for the Coast Guard general knowledge, which is going to be the same for everybody trying to make E5 no matter what their rate. And then you've got your rating specific RPQs, they call them, and that is the sign-offs that are specific to MST. So you have to get all those signed off, and then you have to take an end-of-course test, which is based on the information in those packets. You have to score 80% on that end-of-course test, and then you qualify for the service-wide, which in the reserves only comes around in October. If you're active, it's twice a year. It's November and I believe it's May. But you have to get all those sign-offs, and you have to get the end-of-course test passed with an 80% in order to be eligible to sit on the service-wide. The service-wide, there's no score you have to get. You have to rank high enough to make it. So basically, in the next year after you sit on the service-wide, X amount of people will make whatever rank you were going for. If you fall within that, whatever that number is, then you make it at some point that year. That's your personal drive factor. Now, the variable kind of X factor, luck factor part of it is that sometimes a certain test can be waived. So right now, for example, the service-wide is waived for MST2, for E5 as an MST, because they have a shortage of that position. So that means that you get all your practical stuff signed off, you pass the end-of-course test, you make E5 the next month. You don't have to wait until October to take a service-wide and then hope that you rank high enough. Other times, the end-of-course test might be waived, but the service-wide is still there. So I always tell my people under me, like, if there's an opening, take advantage of it, because it can be very difficult to make rank when there is a service-wide and when there is an end-of-course test. It's usually there because there's a lot of people trying to make it, and so it has to be a little bit more competitive. So definitely take advantage if that opening is there. So I hope that helps a little bit. Obviously, there's not going to be a one-size-fits-all in terms of when you're going to make rank, but you will find, I think, that you'll have to make some choices that might affect how fast you make rank. You might decide, I really want to be the most qualified and knowledgeable E5 that I can be before I go for E6. So you might shoot for all your qualifications, which is going to make you very well versed and knowledgeable. And when the time comes to take the MST1 service-wide, you'll probably do really well. But in the meantime, you might hold yourself back from advancing because you're focusing on quals. The flip side of that is you might be a hard charger and get yourself advanced up really quick, but you might not be as technically perfect in that area as you might want to be, because you'll find that you're going to have a lot more responsibility and expectations are going to be a lot higher. So E5 is kind of a nice middle ground to really get your bearings when it comes to all that technical knowledge, and also you start to get some mentoring and supervisory experience even at the E5 level. So anyway, I hope that helps. That was a really great question. Please leave a comment if you have any follow-ups. I will try to answer anything I can to the best of my abilities. Good luck in going MST. I know that it can take a while to get in, especially right now. So I hope that process goes well for you. And once you do make it there, if you find yourself needing any assistance, please don't hesitate to leave a comment and ask another question. I'll do the best I can. And in the meantime, have a great rest of your day.